Hi friends, it's Gwen. Today I'm going to be reviewing Shadows Over Paradise by Isabel Wolff. I received this book as a Goodreads giveaway. I was the Goodreads winner, and I probably would not have picked this book up otherwise, but I'm very glad that I won it in a giveaway. It sounded good when I entered, and I was sent this by the publisher, and I read it right away, and here's my review. So if you do not know anything about this book, it was previously written and published in the UK, and it has a different cover. It's called, and a different title. It's called Ghost Written. It's same author, Isabel Wolff, but the two other covers, maybe I'll insert a picture. There's one for the Canada version and there's one for the UK version, and both of those covers are very pretty. I'm not sure why the title of the book changed. I mean, I know why it's Shadows Over Paradise and I know why it could be Ghost Written, but I don't know why the change in title. But this one got published in the US this month, and I'm really happy that I received it. I don't read a lot of historical fiction, and this is the historical account of the Japanese occupation and the Dutch East Indies during World War II. So that was a little bit different for me, because usually when you hear World War II stories, you're talking about, you know, something in Germany or, you know, something like that. I recently went to the Holocaust Museum in Richmond, Virginia, and that was very touching and moving and emotional. And then I was reading this at the same time, and it kind of went hand in hand. It really made me think about the things that I was reading in this book. The book starts off with a flashback of August of 1987, and there's a little girl named Evie and her younger brother, and they're on the beach, and something tragic happens, and you're not exactly sure what. And then the book starts, and it's completely different characters and a completely different setting, so you're not really sure how this flashback has anything to do with the rest of the story. It's so much more than that. It starts with Jenny, who is a ghostwriter who takes on the job of writing a memoir of a woman, a 79-year-old woman named Clara. And Clara was a young girl during the time of World War II, and her and her family were super close, and she has a younger brother, and then World War II happened. So it talks about her time of, you know, her family and what happens to them, and as they get moved from camp to camp, and just kind of their daily life and what happens to them and kind of how their story unfolds. But at the same time, Clara has secrets, but so does Jenny. Jenny took the job in Cornwall, which is this beautiful little coastal town, away from her boyfriend Rick, because she doesn't want to have children, and he's never sure why, but he really wants children and she doesn't. And this job comes along, and she's like, perfect opportunity, you know, I'll go my way, you stay here, we'll figure out what happens afterwards. So that's kind of what they decide to do. So she goes, and also she's returning to Cornwall, which is familiar to her, and she's confronting her own demons. So together, it's kind of Clara telling her story to Jenny and reliving some of the hardest times of her life, and she's having to tell Jenny a lot of personal stories, so she's looking to Jenny to make it easier on her and, you know, make her feel like she's talking to a friend. So Jenny ends up opening up to Clara, and that helps Clara open up to Jenny, and it's a beautifully written story. Much of the story is Clara's story, and I think that's why they went with the title that they did in the US, Shadows Over Paradise, because that has to do with Clara's memoir. The things that I loved about this book were, it was slow paced, but the story was just so intriguing that you just kept having to read it. So even though it is a little bit slow paced, it's very intriguing. The characters in the story are great. You really get a sense of who Jenny is and why she thinks and feels the way she does. And you also really, really, really get to know Clara and her mother and her father and her brother, and you get to know a little bit about Jenny's friends and Rick, her boyfriend, and one of her friends, Honor. But mainly you really get to know Clara and her family and their family is just, you just really feel for them going through the stuff that they went through during that time. And Clara's on the other end of it. She's 79 years old, and they're doing this as like her 80th birthday present. And so when she turns 80, then she has this memoir that she can give to members of the family, and her legacy's living on. It didn't so much as concentrate on what Jenny was going through as much as I would have liked. It was more leaning towards the historical aspects with Clara, but it gave enough of Jenny's story that you really wanted to know what happened. And you do find out, but Clara's story is wrapped up so much better than Jenny's is. Jenny's just kind of feels rushed, and it's not really predictable or anything like that, but it wasn't as smooth as Clara's ending to her story was. But the characters are absolutely great. The setting was totally unique to me because I really didn't know a lot about Java and the Dutch East Indies during World War II, and you do get little bits and pieces of that, what was happening during that time. The author did do a lot of research for this book, and she specifically chose to, when she writes, she chooses her characters first, and then from there the story happens. So you could really tell that she was focused on Clara and Jenny, and then from there she wanted to have a great story to tell. And I'm really glad that she told it, because I really do feel like, even though maybe it's not, I mean, it is a work of fiction, but I really feel like there were a lot of things in there that I learned historically. And I would definitely, recommend it if you're looking for a historical fiction, or if you're looking for a book that has a very close yet maybe tragic family story. I would really recommend this. But in the end, I rated this 4 out of 5 stars, which it took me about 2 weeks to read this because it was slow paced. But again, it was just so beautifully written. And you kind of find out why Jenny is the way she is, and why Clara is the way that she is. And it's just a great overall book. So I'm really happy that I read this. It was the first book that I read this month, and I'm really happy that I won it in the giveaway. So go check it out. That's it for today, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.